Well, I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about Stargirl Season 3. I didn't do an episode-by-episode review of it because before it even came out, they had announced it was canceled. So it's not like, hey, I need to do reviews for a show that I like, and in the hopes that somebody sees my video and thinks, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot, and that'll help the show. Well, no. There was really no chance of that. So, plus, as time is becoming even more and more scarce for me personally to do just about anything, I may have to start doing that with quite a few of these shows I just haven't gotten around to beyond the usual stuff of, going through old Star Trek and Doctor Who and stuff like that. But new shows, and there's quite a few, and a lot of people make a lot of suggestions of different shows, quite a few beyond the, sci-fi, superhero, fantasy genre stuff. And I eventually have to get to Ozark, which I did season. Yeah, I know, it's gone. So, but that's been on the back burner for a long time. Got through the first season. And needed to do a video on that. But that's pretty much how that's going to have to go, is that I'll watch a show and then tell you the whole thing, or my thoughts on it. So I don't know exactly when they must have known that this would be the last one, or they just felt, well, it probably is. Even though a lot of things in it, had they suddenly gotten a saving grace and had got to do another one, there was a lot of setup in it that could have led to other things. They do more or less tie up the clues about Jade's brother. We find him, he's there, his powers are discovered and all that sort of stuff, and they have an adventure there. And since they have made the Shade a good guy, he becomes helpful in that story. And I could see where they could have set that up, where he, along with the Jade and Obsidian, being mentored by him, and perhaps a spinoff thing, maybe. Or just continue on as another arc for the Stargirl show, which was basically the Justice Society of America show, was a lot of it, but it was, focused on Stargirl herself. So you get a lot of that JSA stuff in it. For anyone who was interested in it, it's a nice nod to those stories, but that's not enough to make a show compelling for people who've never heard of it. Your basic superhero show could capture the attention of someone who's only had a minimal exposure to the comic book stories and what have you. And I thought a lot of elements were there in the show. I guess my expectations were extremely low for it, so it goes a long way when I watch it and say, well, it's not that bad. I can't believe this is considered a CW show, even though originally it was on the DC streaming service that really never had a shot. So it moved to CW, and since due to that separation that seems to continue for it, Superman, of course, but that's a little different. I don't know. I most say it's more of an HBO Max project, even though it was on CW. Just the quality and excellence between them was rather jarring compared to typical CW fare. And Superman remains the best and the superior of the two between Stargirl and Superman. But Stargirl wasn't far behind it. And had a lot of good elements. Fatherhood was respected. The teen soap opera dramas and whatnot was there, but kept very much at a minimum, which is similar to Superman with the boys and their high school antics and all that. And had a well thought out overall story and mystery that unfolded through this show while they dealt with other issues. Ultra Humanite makes an appearance, and then, oh boy, that was a clue and didn't really see it coming. with the return of Starman. And of course the relationship she had, these romantic feelings she had for Icicle's son, and the stuff he's going through, and he didn't understand everything, and it's that typical comic book soap opera plot, as well as constantly in Spider-Man, where he couldn't tell his girlfriend the truth and all that. It would reveal everything, put her in danger, that type of thing. Well, Stargirl's kind of in the same situation here with this boy. And then there's all the struggles of the truth about his father. His father returns. How'd that happen? Well, did you ever see Terminator 2? Well, there you go. So anyway, it was all very good and handled, and despite, they got their Blue Valley set, so that's good. And despite having superpowered characters in there, for the most part, they were able to do the action at a minimum, of course, but at the same time have a story that's got depth to it that draws you in. So it starts out with a murder mystery, and there's suspects abound, and all this stuff, dealing with the old villains, and then some others who weren't around. And it's a really cool take on Ultra Humanite, which most people don't know is the original first arch villain for Superman. But then Lex Luthor came along and stole the thunder, and that's that. Ultra Humanite would go in and out, but it was. They don't mention Superman in this. Eventually, Ultra Humanite became a villain for the Justice Society, and that's how they went forward with it. But his ability to have his brain transplanted in other bodies became quite a plot fixture, and worked rather well. And how it was going to go and what they were going to do, wasn't quite sure. And so, you try to predict things, and usually when they're too predictable, it's not much fun. But that really wasn't so much so the case in this story as it unfolded. And then they have after it's all done and over, there's a bit of a wrap up. They jump forward into the future and all of that, and then Jay Garrick Flash shows up and says, "Oh, there's another mission to do." Oh, and off they go. But probably this will never be revisited again. Of course, Stargirl appears in Titans. That's probably be better if that didn't happen at all. Because Titans, in a lot of ways, I think the cast could have worked. The problem there is they didn't really know how to deal with superpowered stories. It's odd. Sometimes it looked really good, and other times, but story-wise, it quickly fizzled into crap, and it's just such a shame. Especially, I keep forgetting the actor's name who plays Nightwing, but probably the best one cast for the role of Dick Grayson, and just completely and utterly wasted. But anyway, that'll probably be the last time you see at least this version of Stargirl, is her cameo, and that is they touch upon the multiverse yet again for DC properties. It's another canceled show, so and that one I've watched half of it. Of course, they took a break and all that. I'll finish that one up too and do a full, my thoughts on the season. But Stargirl was easily far superior, even though I haven't finished that one yet. Just writing and what have you. And so it's a shame it couldn't catch on. It did a lot of things right, but of course, Superman always has a better chance because it's Superman. Stargirl, most people don't know, but it's up there. It'll be out there for people to check out. But it would have been cool to see how. I don't know how much further they could go within budget constraints for Justice Society stories, but it was kind of nice to see some of those characters brought to life. Especially when the odds of it happening are slim to none. Then, of course, some of them showed up in Black Adam on the big screen, and that was interesting. Would have been cool to see the Spectre and all that as he's supposed to be, not the Arrowverse version. As Green Arrow becomes the Spectre. But this is about as good as it's going to get for the time being, I'm sure. I imagine a lot of budgets will have to be even tighter and save a lot of that mostly for the movies going forward. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they do their shows. Superman's going to continue, so and still functions. But that's the thing. If you can keep the narrative compelling and of interest, it can still survive and work, but it's got to get an audience, and Stargirl just didn't, and it's unfortunate because the show is not bad, but it's not great either. It's not so compelling. It's, my God, look what you're missing. It wasn't that, but anyway, it lived for a while, and got a fairly decent send off.